We've been off for a couple of weeks, but now we're back with a new and improved version of News Trash. So, without further ado, let's take a look at what's been happening over the last few days in the world of video games. Hi, I'm Rob, and welcome to News Trash here on The Geek Show, your regular look at the latest in the world of video game news. We've been off for a couple of weeks while we've worked on a few changes to how we're doing things with regards to the news. From now on, it's going to be a twice-a-week affair, and we'll try and keep you updated with the latest in what's happening in the world of video games on a more regular basis. Our sister show, Trailer Trash, is now weekly and will also update you on the latest releases for that week. If you like what we're doing with these episodes, then please like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, and you can stay up to date with us. So, without any further ado, let's get into this. Unfortunately, we're going to start off with the bad stuff, and the bad stuff that seems to dominate the headlines with video games is usually Activision Blizzard, Ubisoft, and the various allegations that have been levelled at various employees that work or worked within those companies. Now, it's been suggested that Ubisoft, Activision Blizzard, and other major publishers collaborated on a set of rules and processes for handling reports of abuse and harassment and other offences. The process also, allegedly, must heavily involve employees in non-management positions and union representatives. But in a new statement, a Better Ubisoft, which is a group of employees over at Ubisoft who are campaigning for greater change, have said that the Chief People Officer at Ubisoft has responded to each key demand during a recent internal presentation. Now, even though there were apparently some welcome acknowledgements in the presentation about failures in both the consistency of the complaints process and the lack of communication with some of the whistleblowers and witnesses, there has apparently been no new information nor any steps to meet the group's demands. This is a step in the right direction, I'd say, but it also reflects what's going on over at Activision Blizzard. They've also announced certain changes, which again have been acknowledged as a step in the right direction, but not enough. So we will keep an eye on those stories as they happen. Speaking of Activision Blizzard, their games continue to shed players. According to the developer's monthly active users, the total was down 13% year on year to 26 million players, and that's despite the recent launch of Diablo IV Resurrected in September. A lot of these players are leaving, obviously, from World of Warcraft following various other prominent streamers and various other prominent players leaving World of Warcraft for one reason or another. I'm not going to get into the who's and whys and wherefores about the mass exodus from World of Warcraft. That's a whole other bag of worms that would take an entire episode of Impossible Mission to cover. Blizzard obviously are trying to recapture some of their lost audience for World of Warcraft, but I think it's going to be a major uphill struggle, so we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, the problems do continue for Activision Blizzard as Overwatch 2 and Diablo IV have been delayed until at least 2023. Now, back in February, the Chief Operating Officer, Daniel Alegre, did announce that Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 would not launch until at least 2022. That has been confirmed to be 2023, so loads of people disappointed by that news, but given the circumstances at the moment, I can kind of understand. Moving on to Fortnite, there's more bad news. Fortnite in China is shutting down after just 3 years of service. Players of Fortress Night, as it's known in China, received the message, a simple statement saying, the test is over, we're shutting down. Maybe not in those words, but that's basically the gist of it, and that's basically it. The game will go offline on November the 15th. Part of the reason for that is possibly because of the legislation that's the Chinese government put in place against children playing video games, and if you recall, a lot of children play Fortnite. Moving on to another game for kids, Roblox was down for 3 days. Now, according to the founder and CEO, the outage began on the afternoon of Thursday, October the 28th, and was finally resolved on Sunday afternoon. The outage has been attributed to a combination of factors, starting with a subtle bug in their back-end service communication. Suffice to say, the bug has been fixed, the game is back up and running, and you can hear the screams from parents' wallets all over the world. In other news, the UK developer Sumo Group, or Sumo Digital, whatever you want to call them, they're the company behind Sackboy, A Little Big Adventure, and Crackdown 3. They are in the process of a takeover from Tencent, who are one of the biggest gaming conglomerates on the planet. I think it's fair to call them that now, a conglomerate. Sumo Group have requested that the acquisition must be greenlit by the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, or CFI-US, and Tencent have agreed to the process, and both companies are working with the committee in the hopes of getting the takeover cleared by the end of the year. Now, if the process goes well, that means Sumo will be owned by Tencent, but as a lot of people have probably started noticing, Tencent seem to be kind of hands-off with certain properties that they own and certain developers that they own. I, for one, would be interested to see if that is the case and if this offers Sumo the financial freedom to really push themselves as a developer. We'll see. In other bad news, PAX South has been cancelled for the foreseeable future. Apparently, a combination of COVID-19 and the lack of growth has led to the axing of this particular offshoot of PAX after just 6 years. And organisers have said on the event's official site that PAX South hasn't expanded and to some extent has remained the same show that it was when they opened in 2015. Meanwhile, Niantic are shutting down Harry Potter Wizards Unite in 2022. The developer has announced that the mobile augmented reality title will be closing down next January in a blog post, and they've stated that the game will be removed from the App Store and Google Play and Samsung Galaxy Store on December the 6th, 2021. It'll remain playable until January the 31st before being switched off for good. They've gone on to say, not all games are meant to last forever. Our goal with Harry Potter Wizards Unite was to bring the magic of the wizarding world to life for millions of players as they stepped outside and explored their neighbourhoods. Moving on, Switch production has reportedly dropped by 20% due to supply shortages as the global chip shortage finally hits Nintendo. It gives you an idea of just how much Nintendo have held back in reserve, that it's only starting to hamper their operations now. And this is at a time when Sony are actually airlifting PlayStation 5s to the UK for Christmas. Switching over to some good news, Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics have removed the paid XP boost from Marvel's Avengers. They hope that this is the first step in rebuilding players' confidence in both Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics as a team on the Avengers franchise and on other Marvel franchises. It wasn't particularly well thought out, and it did go against what they promised. They've apologised. Let's be optimistic. Meanwhile, Sega and Microsoft are exploring a cloud partnership to boost Sega's development. I am quite interested in this because Sega, when they first partnered with Microsoft, came up with the Dreamcast, amongst other things, and the Dreamcast is still, even now, my all-time favourite console. Microsoft and Sega have announced that they are in discussions to form a strategic alliance that will see Sega using Microsoft's cloud technology in its games development. Speaking of Microsoft, recently Mark Zuckerberg announced that the Facebook parent company was changing its name to Meta and that he was working on a thing called the Metaverse, which is a blending of virtual reality and the real world. Microsoft have decided that they're going to also do the same thing. They're planning a 3D metaverse of applications for the Xbox, and they are bringing forward their vision of combining the digital and physical worlds together. That's according to the CEO, Satya Nadella, who made a statement during Microsoft's Ignite 2021 conference. When they talk about the metaverse, they're talking about both a new platform and a new application type, similar to how we talked about the web and websites in the early 90s. In other reasonably good news, Sony have quietly fixed the PlayStation 5's dead battery issue. Now, this is an issue that came to light a while ago about the CMOS battery and the internal clock and how that had the potential to effectively stop your PlayStation 5 playing games. And so it looks like that has been fixed on the quiet. A video showing the PS5 booting both PS5 and PS4 games without a CMOS battery has been shown on YouTube. So well done, Sony, for doing that and not making a big song and dance about it. Netflix, meanwhile, have announced that their mobile game service is rolling out globally this week for subscribers on Android. The iOS service is due in the coming months, and that's following several months of limited testing in selected European territories. The fledgling video game service is being rolled out to all subscribers around the world as long as they have an Android device. Moving on. Recently, there was a new Super Mario Bros. Movie, and that was made by Illumination, the studio behind movies like Despicable Me and various others like that. They made the Super Mario Bros. Movie with Chris Pratt as Mario. Not getting into that. Seth Rogen was Donkey Kong, and apparently now it's suggested that he's getting his own movie as Donkey Kong, with some other Kongs involved, Cranky Kong, maybe Diddy Kong, we don't know. The idea of a Donkey Kong spin-off movie could possibly be hinting at a Nintendo cinematic universe, the NCU, if you will, pardon the pun. Curious to see how that happens, and what I am even more curious to see is whether they will have an Avengers-type movie and call it Super Smash Brothers. Just throwing that out there. Super Smash Brothers the movie. If they follow the Marvel Avengers format, how many Nintendo fans are going to be happy about that? Let us know in the comments. And finally, Gamigo Group are one of the leading publishers of online games in Europe and North America, and they count over 400 employees. They're also one of the largest German companies in the gaming industry. They are responsible for running various online games like Trove and Arcade and Rift. So, they have apparently reached carbon neutrality. According to a statement, their long-term goal was to identify the full potential to further reduce their overall CO2 footprint. Emissions that can no longer be reduced were to be offset. And as part of these efforts to contribute to climate actions, Gamigo's parent company offset their carbon dioxide emissions for 2020, and that included any CO2 emissions from data centers, offices, traveling, and suppliers. Gamigo will apparently still produce carbon dioxide through its usual business activities, but they have said that they are offsetting that amount by funding an equivalent reduction in carbon dioxide elsewhere. They have already shared that through their efforts of reducing carbon emissions, they've supported projects such as the Clean Water Project in Rwanda and the Solar Power Project in Kenya. Additionally, Gamigo has said that they've partnered with carbon management platform Planetly as they aim to further reduce their carbon footprint. And I, for one, really applaud them. In this time of climate change, I think more video game developers and publishers should follow suit and try and become carbon neutral. It's been proven that governments are failing, so it's time for industry to step forward and do it themselves. So, that's your news for this first episode of the new and improved News Trash. Please bear with us for any teething troubles. We do apologise for them in advance. If you've liked what you've heard, then you can help out by checking out our Patreon. We got some interesting stuff happening over there. If you have any thoughts about any of the stories from today, leave us a comment below. We are always interested in what people think about the things that we talk about, so let us know. Anyway, that's your lot for today. I will be back on Sunday with another episode of this new form of News Trash. So for now, it's goodbye from me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here.